Welcome to the ThinkFactory Podcast. We got one question for you. What keeps you up at night?
Powered by OGC Solutions. I'm happy to be your host today. I'm Chris Santamassimo, and as I hope folks have seen from the ThinkFactory podcast, what we'd like to do is focus on not only interesting business leaders, but business leaders who work with companies that are doing interesting things in the marketplace. In this case, I'm really excited to introduce Tim Peters and Rouhaud from Polyart, in particular because Polyart is in the world of synthetic papers. And while that might not seem so interesting on its face, I think it's super interesting for lots of reasons, not the least of which are lower carbon footprint, recyclability, especially in this time in which we're focused on those things, both in the United States and in Europe, where Polyart is headquartered at the parent level. But I think getting more familiar with the products, the offerings, and how it's actually doing something really interesting and good from a sustainability standpoint. So I'm really excited to introduce you folks. Tell us a little bit about yourselves and Polyart. Take it away.
Hey, Chris, thank you for having us. Timothy, do you want to start?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Tim Peters. I'm the business development manager for Rouhaud, where we manufacture the product Polyart here in the United States. The nice part is that we manufacture it. It goes all over from India to Venezuela and back. So glad to be here.
And you're manufacturing right here in the United States as well.
So the Polyart and the Polyart high strength is being shipped all over the world, as well as being used right here in the United States.
Fantastic. So, and again, what I wanted to circle back to is really synthetic papers. I'm not sure that everyone who might listen to the podcast knows what a synthetic paper really is.
It's a good question. In fact, synthetic papers were invented like 50 years ago, over 50 years ago. Polyart did turn 2018, in fact. And it started out of the simple idea to make a water-resistant and rip-resistant material, and from oil, because at that time it was very cheap and abundant. Obviously, we had the oil shocks in the meantime in the 70s, and synthetic paper remained a niche market, niche application. And at Polyart, what we did very early on is to coat the synthetic paper, the plastic base film, because it's plastic basically, with a coating to make it easy to print by any printer. And that's the DNA really of Polyart. There is mix and match different base films with different coatings for different applications to meet the needs of our customers, in fact.
Yeah, so really it's, in my view, Louis, it's maybe the best of both worlds, so to speak, between paper that comes from trees or tree fiber and plastics. I mean, we know from the print business that plastics are not very easy to print on just because of the surface and the adherability of ink to the paper.
It is very true, and it allows us to support, in fact, the revolution on the market from offset to digital printing today. So we had to come up with new coatings for laser, for inkjet printing, for indigo, and the future will probably be a water-based inkjet. And you're perfectly right. It's the best of two worlds. It's a durable material, so it allows us to use less material for longer time, and it prints like paper. So yeah, it is indeed.
So I think what if I'm understanding the products properly, Louis, you're able to print directly on the synthetic paper as opposed to, say, printing on paper from trees and then having to coat it with an exterior coating to prevent sagging or prevent water absorption into the tag.
That's right. It allows our customers, in fact, to not have to laminate, not to have an extra step in the extra process, to have something that is durable. So we print directly onto Polyart and have a resistant material without a second process. So it saves time, again, energy, so carbon footprint basically, and you have a durable material ready for as long as you need it, basically.
Thing to point out is interesting in applications where you might have driven by want to have a paper menu, but they're laminating it with plastic. So actually, by just cutting out the middleman and going straight to the synthetic, you're getting that durability without the paper and the ink and all these extra processes like Louis was speaking about.
Exactly. And I love the sustainability and the reduction of energy usage, reduction of steps. That's great for the printer, but it's also great for the environment and great for the community as well.
Absolutely. Again, like Louis was saying, this was originally synthetic paper was driven out of the Japanese culture because they live on an island. They have few trees and they want to reduce and reuse. So I think again, going back to kind of DNA of Archbex being a coatings company, what we've done great, especially in the United States, is our base is the HDPE, which for us is much more easily recyclable. So again, you've got a coatings that allows you to print on the synthetic. You're saving on some of your carbon footprint with some of your process, and then you've got something that once you're done with it and you no longer need it, you should be able to put it in the blue bin.
What's interesting to me too is that the content of the product itself is actually recycled material, isn't it? Or part of the content?
You're right. I mean, as Timothy was saying, I mean, HDPE is the easiest polymer plastic to be recycled with PET. I mean, there is a curbside collection loop of HDPE, and we buy these, in fact, these recycled jugs and bottles, and we use them, we put them back into Polyart, and we have a Polyart that is made of 30% of used post-consumer recycled milk jugs, basically. So it's a loop. I mean, yeah, we use PE that is then recycled again and again, and we make recycled Polyart that is again recyclable and recycled.
To kind of expand on that, some of the customers, the larger ones we're working with, and the tag and label where that really helps to make sense is that they've got their own return programs, right? So they're saying, hey, this label, this tag, they're educating the customer, which is actually the grocer, the person like you or myself that's wanting to be a part of that. And it says, hey, look, if you bring this tag back to the grocer, not only are you doing your part, but the grocer's going to do their part, and then we're going to recycle this and make sure that we're all taking care of each other, the environment, as well as being good stewards of our resources.
And Tim, have you found that recyclers in the United States are receptive to that type of material being back in the blue bin? Sometimes I find that, and I think it's getting better all the time, but it's a lot easier, or you can expect recyclers to handle bottles more readily than they are the materials. But do you think that's improving?
It is, and there's another conversation had to some of the fuel bags, and they made a point that was very simple, that a lot of these recycling places don't want to take the flat tags because they're too thin. It doesn't work. So what they've done is they simply add the line, fold tag before recycling, and now because it's folded, it's much easier to handle. And on the second side of that, I think we should be pushing more on the plants. We should be doing more work to say, hey, you should be recycling. So I think we should be throwing as much in the blue bin as possible. And on the other side of it, we're working with legislation and recycling companies and the APR to take more of this plastic. I mean, that's a second part that really needs to be done by Americans. Since with Polyart and Archbex, we're trying to drive that from the top down, if that makes sense.
Well, the good news is you're set up to promote it at the end of the day, because it's got to start with the manufacturer of the product. So I'm happy to hear that Polyart is doing such a good job in that regard. No, Louis, who is a typical customer of Polyart? I know that you have great applications and some trademarks as well for outdoor paper, labels and tags, and other things. But talk about who some of your customers. What industries are they in?
Well, that's the DNA of Polyart. We don't have a specific customer, because any customer, any offset printer, any now digital printer can print on Polyart, basically. So, and we see more and more customers that used to print on paper and where there is a huge, competition, asking, well, where can I go? Where can I find this blue ocean where new applications and some niche markets, and then they come to us, and so it could be basically anyone. Um, we started off in the US, and it's interesting, as an in-mold label supplier, because Polyart being plastic, basically, you can print a label for a detergent on this plastic, on this Polyart, and then uh, put it in the mold when you form the bottle for the detergents. And the good thing with Polyart, because it's HDPE, like the bottles, you can recycle everything together. That is the label together with with the container. So we had big packaging customers in to start with, but today, it's really any mom and pop shop around the corner that can use Polyart on their old offset machine or new Rico 9200.
What I find really interesting is the durability of the product as well. We talk about outdoor applications, refrigerated food, even tags on pillows and bedspreads and other things that you're going to use in your house and are going to last for multiple years. So the ability to sustain a lot of wear and tear is really important too.
It is. Timothy, if you wanted to elaborate on some of your customers in the US.
No, absolutely. I mean, the wide range, a lot of times we'll get customers who will say, hey, how long is this going to, for instance, last outside? I'll easily answer to them. And of course, I've had customers try it out for me, so I'm not just saying it, where the ink is usually going to fade in the UV before our product makes. In cold temperatures, it does pretty well, very well, best in cold temperatures because of H2. And again, we're talking about how brittle or cold is something, and again, where the identification breaks down. So we do very well, real well in the cold. We do super well in the hot. So we've got customers that are putting it on trees for horticulture, and then we've got customers that are using it for carcass protection, for tags that when you go to buy your turkey and the little tag that's wrapped around there, and they have to the grocery store with a lot and a date, that kind of information. So there's a wide range of customers that are using it for indoor, for outdoor, for menus, for labels for barrels, labels for tires. So again, back to what Louis was saying, really anyone that's got equipment, that's working with anyone smaller shop that needs to print something that's gonna last without having to do extra lamination to keep the paper from breaking down if it gets wet, oil, or grease. That's the immediate crossover to, hey, synthetic works best. And then going back to earlier where Louis was saying, a lot of synthetics don't print so easily. We're a coatings company, so we have made it as easy as possible for any operator to take Polyart and hopefully put it in with a very minimal change, print it just like they would like paper. Other synthetics can't save. So really over the last 60 years, we've developed a great product. We've listened, we've learned, we've added to, it was why we were at Printing United to see what the market's asking for, where it's going toward. We know that we need to have, two-sided inkjet. But really, we listen to the customers, we listen to the market. Again, going back to if you've got a printer and you've got someone that's asking for something that needs to be more durable, and you want to save some costs, choose Polyart.
Well, when you talk about saving costs, I like to think about things in more at a higher level, in the sense that we got to talk about total cost of use, or total cost of ownership, people like to say. And I got to believe that we should be looking at not only what are we saving in terms of not having to take a separate step and laminate and get yet another product in the mix, but the savings on labor. And when you talk about laminating something, you also have the potential to create an error, which makes you have to reprint the labels. So when you factor all those things together, Louis, what's an average range of savings that users of the Polyart products are going to experience?
That really depends on the application, but for instance, in the in-mold process, because I know that very well, it also allows to receive, the brand to receive some pre-labeled containers, and all the containers have been already approved. So it's much faster. You just receive the containers in the boxes, basically. Just fill them in and ship them out. I mean, that's material, that's time, and that's efficiency. So it really, I mean, it is it really depends on the application, and it can be a lot. I mean, over 20 to 30%, depending. Again, it really depends on the application and on all the processes that are involved.
Yeah, it's amazing. I could foresee though that taking out an entire step of the manufacturing process has got to be a game changer for people who use the products.
It is, and that's why I mean IML, but also menus. You see more and more menus that don't need to be laminated when they use synthetic paper. So it is a huge advantage, in fact. And as Timothy was saying, it takes out the middleman. So it's lead times, it's more accuracy, and it's a faster it's faster to be on the market. So it's got financial and also non-financial benefits.
And as Louis and I saw a few weeks ago, we were at one of the biggest venue printers, and going to this point of this conversation, if you laminate and have a mistake after the fact, now it's waste. So now you've done the whole process, and if you have an issue down the line, you're losing money there. So, and we saw that. That was one of the points he actually brought up to us is, hey, it would be great to not have to laminate at all, because I got to hope it finishes without issue either. And they were having finishing issues where their lamination wasn't sticking to specific inks. And so again, time is money, waste is money.
Yeah, and as printers struggle to find sufficient labor to man their operations, any step we can take out of the process and save some labor with a reliance on labor, it's a good thing for everybody, right?
Absolutely. And
Yep.
I'm sure Chris, and prior to this, I ran a print shop, and it's harder and harder to find people that really know how to operate this equipment, make the adjustments, and you want the print to turn out right. So
Yeah, you not only want the print to turn out right, but the finished product. When you got so many other steps, I think you always have a chance for error and an opportunity to have to reprint. And so if we can take that waste out of the process, we've cured a bunch of issues. Now, what do you see coming down the pike this year in terms of Polyart? New applications, new releases, or is it just continue with the success you've experienced already?
Timothy, do you want to?
yeah, so I mean, Louis kind of mentioned that we've got the PCR. We're trying to incorporate a few new grades of that. So the post-consumer recycled product that has 30% right now. We've got it in a couple of grades. We're trying to be able to source enough of that recycled material to offer some other grades. We've also got our fiber skin product, which is an actual paper pulp product that is recyclable, compostable, and biodegradable. So that's nice. It's water resistant. It's water repellent up to a certain bit of time. So that's an interesting product. Again, we're a coatings company, so we have this being coated. And then we've also, I think, one of the neat things that we're doing that we kind of went to Printing United to under inkjets becoming very popular. So currently we've got a one-side coating we're testing out with some customers that are really pushing it into the market. Then going to develop a second side coating. But yeah, as far as that, we're got our coatings. We're working with manufacturers, Konica, HP, to make sure all of our stuff prints as they develop new equipment. So as the new things come out, that's where our innovation, where we try to make sure that we're either ahead of the game or preparing for it.
Fantastic. And where can folks come to visit you at a trade show or learn more about the products?
Tell you what, we always love to show you around. I don't know if anyone still remembers how it's made on the Discovery Channel, but we always love to bring you into the factory and give you a show. So we're manufacturing Charlotte, North Carolina, probably less than 15 minutes from the airport. We're going to be at Label Expo, and I believe there's a Printing United again this year. So we'll be at both of those for sure. And then, of course, across the globe, we'll be at the Label Expos as well. And of course, Louis and I are also involved in the TLMI, or the Tag and Label Manufacturing Institute. So it's very important for us. I'm on the sustainability committee, where we work with, again, a lot of these tag and label manufacturers at a higher level to understand how we all have on this. Because, we're all the big players, from liners to adhesives to the folks that have put all that together and are selling you the finished product.
I gotta believe that once people learn about what you do and how you've done it, there has to be quite a bit of excitement about what you could provide, just about the opportunity to be more efficient, be more environmentally friendly. It's got to be a great message, not only for the folks that buy your products, but their customers as well.
No, absolutely. I mean, that's what we're trying to, when I go in there, I say, hey, look, if your customers care, then they should. This is the message that I'm preaching to you, that you should preach to them. An HDPE made in the US, easily to recycle, no tariffs.
Yep, no tariffs, exactly.
That
Sure.
is very, for 2026. That will probably be very important for us to be here. And all our raw materials come from the US, or mostly, or we have very little raw material coming from overseas. So we're not impacted basically, and we are flexible. And so being in the US manufacturing is a big help for us and our customers, basically.
No doubt. Yeah, and I think I'm not sure that we're completely out of it, but certainly 2025 was a year in which we had a lot of worry and stress around tariffs, a lot of uncertainty. Now, I think things have leveled off to some degree, but we still have the pressure, and the ability to be here in the marketplace has got to be key.
We think so. And again, it's the message that we're trying to promote and carry through. That's for sure.
Fantastic. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining the podcast and introducing, maybe reintroducing to some and highlighting what you do for others. Polyart's got a great message in terms of what you can do for your customers as well as your customers' customers. So thank you for coming on and sharing today.
Well, thank you,
Thanks for
Chris.
having us.
It was phenomenal, guys. And I just want to close out the podcast by saying thank you to Louis Rouhaud and Tim Peters from Polyart here in the United States and Charlotte, North Carolina. And this has been Chris Santomassimo from the ThinkFactory Podcast. We'll see you next time.